The Big WECK presents Buffalo on the Rise, sponsored by Dr. Kaplansky Dental Implants. Get new permanent teeth in 24 hours with our exclusive Teeth Now process. Welcome to the television show devoted to local business, Buffalo on the Rise, with your host, Joe Chili. There's an entrepreneurial spirit in Western New York that's putting our area on the cusp of greatness. Each week, Buffalo on the Rise features local business leaders and decision makers who are shaping our future. If it's about local business, we'll talk about it right here, right now, during Buffalo on the Rise.
I'm Joe Chili. On this edition of the Big WECK's Buffalo on the Rise, I'll introduce you to some interesting people from hometown businesses with interesting stories to tell, like Trevor Rinaldi from Southpointe Senior Apartments, with information on carefree life in Hamburg might be right for you. Tim Hiller from the law firm of Hiller Comerford, with important information for veterans on how to secure your disability benefits. And Barbara Macks turns the page on a brand new look for a popular Western New York publication, Forever Young. Find out how on this edition of the Big WECK's Buffalo on the Rise. Stay with us. Hi, I'm Joe Chili. Mornings from 7 to 9 on Buffalo's oldie station, the Big WECK. Joining us on the Big WECK's Buffalo on the Rise today is Trevor Rinaldi, who is the property manager from Southpointe Senior Apartments. Trevor, how are you doing today?
Yes, sir. Doing wonderful. Grateful to be here.
I'm glad that you're here. How many senior apartments, now when we're talking about, One Clover, how many senior apartments do they manage?
Great question. Right now in the South Towns and the North Towns, we have 10 different locations. We have Amherst, East Amherst, Tonawanda, North Tonawanda, Lancaster, and then my location in Hamburg, West Seneca, and Lackawanna.
How do things change from location to location?
The locations are extremely similar, which made things very easy for not just myself visiting another property, but also other property managers and or individuals who have toured other properties coming to different locations in which they'd rather be in. So when they built the actual locations, they kept the building plans very, very similar for that reason. Keeps things very simple.
Yeah, I think that's great. Now, one of the things I noticed from your commercial, and I thought was a big selling point, for me personally, when I hear this, now, each bill, you pay one bill each month, I guess is the way to put it. Now, that includes what? It includes rent, cable.
Yep.
Electricity.
You got it.
Water.
Keep going.
Gas.
Keep going. Internet as well, so high-speed internet, cable, water, sewer, trash, you name it, literally everything. Not only does it make it a lot easier on our side of things as managing the property, but the simplicity for the individual paying the bills with the one-stop shop, one payment, that's it.
That's great. I think, well, first off, I don't know that anybody really writes checks any longer. I don't think.
You'd be surprised.
But when you start thinking about all that thing and trying to keep it all straight, you know what I mean? And then trying to balance whatever after the fact, that's tough. What do you think makes One Clover different from the other communities?
That's a great question. And I think, again, a lot of what it boils down to is the simplicity, the amount of events and activities that we offer. And one thing that I will continuously say on One Clover is the amount of residents that I've had come visit the property, come tour the property, and then eventually end up becoming a longtime resident is those that are typically sheltered and like to be a homebody. I've now been noticing a lot of those residents including themselves in a lot more of the activities, which to me means everything. Means we're doing something right. I think the last thing a loved one wants to see or know is their parents or grandparents are sitting in a room alone, and I think that does a lot for the peace of mind of the individual, just including themselves if they'd like to.
All right, now let me ask you a question. This question isn't necessarily for me, but from people that might be viewing today.
Sure.
$1,305, $1,305 that's where the rents start. Okay, that's all inclusive of all those things we mentioned earlier. What's the catch?
Believe it or not, usually they say things are too good to be true, but that's it. Right now we've got a couple specials that are going at a couple of the properties, and again, the whole idea is to make things affordable, keep it simple, all in one, and that's it.
So 1305, is that like a one bedroom? Is that a studio? I mean, you know, or you know, and then they go up from there. What's the largest you have? Is it 2 bedroom?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
2 bedrooms. So the 1305 is going to be for one of our locations currently, and that is going to be for a 1 bedroom, again, with absolutely everything included. That's it, bottom line.
And senior community, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so what are you talking about for age groups?
So age groups are going to start from 55 and up. And I think it's safe to say that I have just about every age range at about all of our properties.
Really? And if there's somebody that has, you know, say for instance, there's somebody younger that might be living with them, you know, a grandchild, or maybe a child that recently got divorced, whatever. Is that all right?
So same things with our residents. The families are welcome. I've gotten to know a lot of the family members of a lot of the residents, which I find to be very enjoyable. Not only do I get greeted when I walk in the door, but just also getting to know more individuals at the property. And again, I think it always boils down to the peace of mind, just knowing that you have an individual who actually cares for their significant other, or whoever that case may be.
When someone comes in to investigate, you know, is the way
That's a good way to put it.
Way to put it, right? Investigate what you have there. What's the most common question? What do you hear most often?
What is there to do? It's what is there to do.
Really?
Yeah, so what is there to do? Because again, a lot of these individuals are moving from either homes, they're downsizing, they want to include themselves but aren't really sure how or how to make friends. And a lot of that, even just from the jump of walking into a building, I've got residents who are hanging out in the foyer, drinking coffee, always saying hi or waving or welcoming those that are coming into the building for the first time. So you already start off by walking into the building feeling welcomed, which, again, to start my day and a job that I have to show up in isn't always the worst thing ever when you feel that way.
So what kind of things do they do as a community?
So right now, again, this is it gets pretty competitive at times, but we've got multiple different card games. We do bingos on Wednesday for money. We've got some residents who have their own bingo dabbers, their own tools. They take it very seriously. At some of the properties too, we do like a light happy hour as well, just to mingle around. Again, when I'm off of work, just to make sure that that is noted. But with that case being as well, just the more friendly and inviting environment. It's awesome.
What's their first step?
First step would be to give us a call or visit our website at oneclover.com. We want to set up a tour, welcome you into the building. You'd meet myself or any of the other property managers in the location that you're looking for. Come on in, check it out, fill out an application, and move you in.
Couldn't be easier, right?
That's it.
All right, Trevor, thank you very much. For more information and answers to your questions, contact Southpointe Senior Apartments, 4600 Southwestern Boulevard in Hamburg. You can call 716-344-2946 or online at oneclover.com. Sponsorship and promotional consideration for the preceding segment was provided by Clover Management, and you can start your mornings with me weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on the Big WECK. Hi, I'm Joe Chili, mornings from 7 to 9 on Buffalo's oldie station, the Big WECK. Joining us on the Big WECK's Buffalo on the Rise today is Timothy Hiller, who's a partner with Hiller Comerford Attorneys. Injury and disability law is what it basically is, right?
Yes, thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you on today. And, you know, I think you've got an important anniversary coming up. I want to make sure that we, maybe not personally, but an important anniversary from a business sense, right?
Yeah, that's right. So about 1 year ago, on June 1st, 2024, my partner Ida Comerford and I launched a new brand. You know, for over 20 years, we had been known as the law office of Kenneth Hiller. Partner and I bought that firm in 2021, and we decided to launch out on a new brand, Hiller Comerford. And the reason for that, Joe, was, you know, we didn't just want to be caretakers of the excellent brand that my father, Kenneth Hiller, built over all those years. We wanted to expand on his vision and you know, really build on his work to the point where, you know, we can be known not just for Social Security disability and helping people navigate that process, but also dealing with their personal injury claims.
So you were kind of differentiating a little bit from the firm you were with before. How difficult is it when you make a decision to partner up with somebody? You know, it seems almost like a marriage, you know what I mean, when you're working with an individual like that. Is it a difficult thing to do? Do you have to kind of make a determination what your specialties are, or did you already know?
You know, it is a relationship on that level. You know, Joe, that is actually a very good comparison. You know, we have over 160 employees right now, and so, you know, the two of us, you know, are responsible for, you know, determining what to do around the office, you know, with 160 plus employees. And so, you know, you have to have a really solid relationship, and you have to know what your strengths are and what your partner's strengths are. You know, for instance, I tend not to be the best at, you know, managing people, and my partner Ida is just, you know, she's a whiz with that. And so that's just one example. But, you know, yeah, you figure out what she's good at, what I'm good at, and you have to make the best of it.
You talked about your father's firm and what he specialized in. Tell me about the areas that you really focus on now with Hiller Comerford.
Yeah, so we have three main focuses. The first focus is car crash. The second focus is our legacy focus, Social Security disability, and our third focus is veterans disability. And, you know, although these are three different areas of law, you know, we really see it as one focus, and that is, you know, we want to help injured or disabled people, you know, people who have been in a car accident, people who, you know, maybe they have an illness and can't work. We want to help them regain control over their lives.
How difficult is it to, you know, to put the client first? Like, for instance, you know, you hear all these stories about people getting in a car accident. All of a sudden, insurance companies are on the phone with them. And, you know, what am I supposed to do? So, you know, should they really call you and talk to an attorney first before something like that happens?
Yes, of course. And of course, I'm going to say that, but it's true. You know, the insurance company is not your friend. Okay, they may sound like your friend, but that's because they've been trained in empathy. They've been trained to basically get you to harm your own claim. And so the most frustrating thing that I see is when someone comes to me, serious injuries, you know, a pretty solid case overall, but the insurance adjuster tricked them into saying something that, you know, may harm their case on the phone. So, you know, the number one thing we recommend is never have a recorded conversation with an insurance company, at least not before you come talk to us.
And for me, it's always nervous when I go in to talk to an attorney, because I just feel you guys have gotten so much education. You know what I mean? You go through all that, and I just feel like such a novice when I'm in there. You know, but you have a policy, a core value of clients first, right? So how do you deal with something like that when you meet with a client?
So the first thing we want to do is we want to get to know you. If you're one of our personal injury clients, we're going to want to bring you into our office and meet with me and my trial attorney, Charles Cobb, and we like to sit down and have a conversation and get to know you as a person. We want to figure out, you know, we're not just going to sit down and talk to you about, you know, complicated areas of law. You know, that's why you hired us, so you don't have to think about that kind of stuff. What we want to know is, you know, what kind of treatment are you getting? How can we help you get your treatment? How can we help you, you know, take care of your no fault application, make sure your property damage claim is being handled correctly, and make sure that you're comfortable with your recovery plan medically. You know, we can get you in to see chiropractors, we can get you in to see doctors that we personally vetted, that we know are good. And so we're really just there to guide you from this vulnerable position, you know, where you're a car crash victim, where you're injured and unable to work, into this position where you're empowered, compensated, and recovered as good as you can from a medical standpoint.
You know, we have about a minute and a half left. What do you think is there one big mistake that clients make?
Yeah, and this would kind of extend across all three areas of law. You know, I already mentioned, you know, thinking you can go it alone. So right. I won't belabor that point. That's clearly a big mistake. But another big mistake we see with any kind of claim, like a car accident claim, you know, VA disability, Social Security disability, is not being consistent with your treatment. You know, any kind of a delay in seeking treatment or gaps in treatment, you know, insurance companies or the government are going to use that against you. They're going to say, if you were really injured, you wouldn't have had that treatment, or you wouldn't have had that gap in treatment. They don't understand, you know, that life gets in the way, that, you know, you may not have transportation. And so we work with you to minimize gaps in treatment, and we try to get you in to see our preferred providers right away.
Oh, you're making me feel more comfortable. Timothy Hiller, who is a partner with Hiller Comerford Injury and Disability Law. For more information and answers to your questions, contact Hiller Comerford by calling 1-866-888-8255.
Hiller-Law or go to HillerComerford.com. Sponsorship and promotional consideration for the preceding segment was provided by Hiller Comerford, and you can join me weekday mornings 7 to 9 a.m. on the Big WECK. Hi, I'm Joe Chili. Mornings from 7 to 9 on Buffalo's oldie station, the Big WECK. Joining us on the Big WECK's Buffalo on the Rise today is Barbara Macks, publisher of Forever Young, Buffalo Spree Publishing. Hard for me to say, easy for you to say. That's right. And an old friend of mine.
Absolutely.
Great to see you.
Same here.
In person.
Right away.
Normally we're talking on the phone or on Zoom or something of that nature, but you know, I have to tell you, I'm really excited about, you know, I say this is a new venture, but it's kind of like an extension of a new venture.
That's an exact perfect way to put it.
Right. Buffalo Spree Magazine is now, it's not a newspaper any longer, it is a magazine.
That's correct.
And it's a very glossy, very pretty, very well set up. Now, would it be anything else if you were handling, right? You know, magazine. And why? Why the change from the newspaper to the magazine?
You know, it's time. It was just time. We've done a newspaper for well over 25 years. Our reader knows Buffalo Spree, and they want to know, why can't the magazine look like the magazine Buffalo Spree puts out, but for seniors? We wanted to give a look to something that they would keep, that it wouldn't be read for a week or two and then gone. This is a keeper. This is going to be something that's around forever. It gives the writer the opportunity to share their words a little bit differently. Glossy, full color, gorgeous does that to the writer. It gives them an oomph. I can't, I don't know.
Does the writer, do your writers feel like they've taken a step up?
Oh, they love it. Yeah, they think
become more glamorous.
It's great, and it is the same writer as it was before. Many of the writers were kept. I don't think we let anybody go. They all wanted to stay with us. But what it gives them is an uplift. It's a change. You know, you can only do so much with newsprint, and then it goes away. You can only distribute it to certain places, and then it goes away. As great and successful as Forever Young has been for 25 plus years, it was time to make a change.
You know what the great thing is about it when you're talking about this? No newsprint.
No newsprint.
That's a good thing. The old adage is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
But I guess some people say, if it ain't broke, break it, right? And you kind of went by that adage?
Well, we didn't break it. We took some of the same stories and upgraded them. We're sharing them a little differently. We're bringing in new specific sections, things that are just fun to look at. This is, see this corn husk? Mm-hmm. You know, it's a fun feature. People look at it and find out things about silly things going on in the community. It can be a person, it can be a place, it can be a thing. It gives the writer and the reader a chance to know more and feel more and understand more about the community, because that's what a magazine's job is to do. So we're offering it in a different format.
And you're doing it one kernel at a time?
One kernel at a time. And there's 800 kernels in every ear of corn.
Okay. All right. I get it. You know, this is, I think it's great. I think, you and I have talked about the fact before that unfortunately with a newspaper, with Forever Young, I mean, you'd read it, and after you read it, you become kind of dog-eared, and it's kind of like, and then you set it down on a coffee table, and then you set things on top of it.
Right.
Coffee, apple core, whatever it might
Icky.
be. And then it just gets thrown away.
Right.
But something like this
doesn't.
No, because it looks, I think it's the fact that you put so much time into this, and it looks so beautiful that nobody wants to just cast it aside, right?
Yeah. Remember last year and all the years prior, we did a book once a year.
Right.
And it was called Forever Young Directory. And it kind of the same, but not as gorgeous, not as complete of information, more of a directory than anything else. And people loved it. So the transition we made wasn't to get rid of Forever Young. it was to change Forever Young to be more sophisticated, to be more of the 2000s, to be 2025.
You know, as a reader, I'll look at this and I say, they're spending more money. You know, they're making it glossier, they're making it bigger, which gives me the feeling that it's going to last long term.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and not just the magazine, but yourself, the organization, the people, the writers.
Right.
And I mean, that's what you want to do, right? That's, you know, that's part of what you're communicating to people. Where do you get the magazine?
It's distributed all over Western New York. Senior centers, doctor's offices, medical centers, libraries, senior facilities where people live. It's kind of snuck into a couple grocery stores, not really sure how it got there, but who's asking? So it's going to places that people hang out. You know, you might go out in the morning for coffee and there's a group of men who are there and they're there every single day. They're the first ones to pick this up. You know, we print 20,000 of them, distribute them, and they're more than half gone already.
Really?
So, yeah.
And this is the spring and summer version.
Yes.
So when is the next?
October.
October.
And it will come out twice a year in 2025. And, you know, we might sneak in a third one in 2026.
Always thinking ahead.
Always.
Very forward thinking.
Thank you.
I think that's great. Barbara Macks, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for the magazine and for telling us all about it. For more information and answers to your questions, contact Forever Young by calling 716-783-9119 or go to foreveryoungwny.com. Sponsorship and promotional considerations for the preceding segment was provided by Forever Young, and you can join me weekday mornings 7 to 9 a.m. on the Big WECK.
Thanks for watching this edition of the Big WECK presents Buffalo on the Rise. For information on this and other shows, go to our website, bigweck.com, and find out how you can participate on the program if you're a hometown business. I'm Joe Chili. Thanks for watching and listening to the Big WECK, Buffalo's oldie station.
The Big WECK presents Buffalo on the Rise was sponsored by Dr. Kaplansky Dental Implants. Get new permanent teeth in 24 hours with our exclusive Teeth Now process.